The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the span of a single solar cycle. Their crimson fleet swept through the void like a plague, leaving behind nothing but subjugated worlds and broken spirits. The Empire's strength lay not in raw firepower but in their mastery of neural suppression technology, devices that could bind any sentient mind to their will. Commander Varric stood before the containment cell, his 4 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Inside, secured by the most advanced neural restraints in the galaxy, sat a creature the Empire had never encountered before. A human. The specimen called, itself Marcus Chen, and it had been captured during the brutal siege of the Terran colony on Kepler 442b. Unlike other species, which had succumbed to neural suppression within hours, this human had resisted for 3 standard days. The neural crown sat heavy on his head, its crystalline surface pulsing with energy as it attempted to override his consciousness. Fascinating, Varric muttered to his aide. Most species exhibit complete compliance by now. This one's neural patterns are chaotic. Marcus raised his head, blood trickling from his nose where the neural crown had burned his skin. His dark eyes met Varric's gaze with unsettling intensity. "You have no idea what you've done," Marcus said, his voice hoarse but unwavering. Varric's mandibles clicked in amusement. "I've done what I always do, acquired a new slave for the Empire. Your resistance is admirable but futile. The neural crown will break you eventually." "That's where you're wrong." Marcus leaned back against the cell wall. "You see, you've made a fundamental error in your calculations." "And what might that be?" "You assume that breaking one human breaks humanity." The human's words carried an edge that made Varric's skin crawl, but he dismissed the feeling. He had heard similar defiance from countless other species before their inevitable surrender. Over the following days, something unprecedented began to happen. The neural crown, designed to rewrite the prisoner's thoughts and loyalties, started to malfunction. Instead of breaking Marcus's will, it seemed to be strengthening it. The human's brain activity spiked beyond anything the Zephyrians had recorded, creating feedback loops that threatened to overload the device. Dr. Kelthera, the Empire's chief neural engineer, examined the readouts with growing alarm. "Commander, I recommend we terminate the subject immediately. The neural crown is beginning to adapt to his thought patterns instead of suppressing them." "Explain," Varric demanded. "Human neural architecture is unlike anything we've encountered. Where other species have rigid thought patterns, humans possess something we can't quantify, a form of cognitive chaos that's actually structured. Their minds don't just resist control, they actively corrupt our technology." As if summoned by their conversation, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Marcus had somehow managed to interface with the neural crown, turning it into a transmission device. The signal it broadcast was unlike anything in their databases, not data or coordinates, but something far more dangerous. It was hope. The transmission carried Marcus's memories, his experiences, and most critically, his knowledge of human history. Every failure that became victory, every impossible odds overcome, every time humanity had looked into the abyss and emerged stronger. The signal reached every suppressed mind in the Zephyrian fleet, showing them something their captors had worked tirelessly to erase: the possibility of freedom. On 17 worlds, neural crowns began to crack, not from external force but from the sheer power of inspired minds refusing to be contained. The Zephyrian Empire had mastered the science of suppression, but they had never encountered the human art of rebellion. The first ship to break free was a mining vessel near the Centauri system. Its crew, a mix of former slaves from 6 different species, overwhelmed their guards within hours. The second was a transport carrying recently captured colonists, then another and another. Varric watched his empire crumble in real time as rebellion spread faster than his fleets could respond. The neural crowns, once symbols of absolute control, became beacons of insurrection. Each device that had been used to enslave now carried Marcus's signal, his unbreakable human spirit infecting every mind it touched. "How?" Varric whispered, staring at the readouts showing simultaneous uprisings across 17 star systems. Marcus looked up from his cell, the neural crown now glowing white-hot as it burned itself out. His smile was tired but triumphant. "You wanted to chain a human," he said. "But you can't chain an idea. And the idea of freedom? That's the most human thing there is." The neural crown finally shattered, its fragments falling to the cell floor like crystalline tears. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling his thoughts clear for the first time in weeks. "Besides," he added, his voice growing stronger, "humans have a saying, 'Give me liberty, or give me death.' You forgot that sometimes we choose both." Through the viewports, Varix could see the lights of his flagship beginning to flicker as the ship's enslaved crew turned against their masters. The great Zephyrian Empire, built on the foundation of mental subjugation, was collapsing not from external invasion, but from internal revolution. A revolution sparked by a single human's refusal to surrender his mind. In the end, they had tried to chain Marcus Chen. Instead, they had given him the keys to every lock in their empire. The chains hadn't just snapped, they had become the very weapons that would bring down their oppressors. The last thing Commander Varix saw before his own crew turned on him was Marcus's smile, and the terrible understanding that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their numbers. It was their absolute, uncompromising refusal to be anything other than free.